Hello, scientists. If you missed the variation lab with the pinto beans, I'm going to show you how to measure the pinto beans in order to enter your data into your data table. So if you take a look right here, I have the pinto beans slideshow open, Google Slides open, and here I have a ruler which I can move around. If I click on the circle at the top, I can rotate it, and I can pick it up and I can put it next to a bean to measure it. You want to be really, really careful that you do not change the size of the ruler because that will change all your data, which is not a good thing. So you're going to need to pick 10 pinto beans to measure, and you're going to need to measure according to your lab procedure. You're going to measure the longest distance across the bean, which is the hot dog length, and then you're going to measure halfway across the bean, the hamburger style length, and you'll be entering those numbers in your data table in order to do volume calculations. So what you should do when you're doing this is if you take your screen and you put it in present mode, you can't move the ruler in present mode. However, you can pick out a bean that you would like to measure. And I recommend finding one where you can see the hot dog length and the hamburger length pretty well. So I'm going to pick this bean right over here. In order to do that, I have to hit escape from the screen. And I'm going to take my ruler over here and I'm going to line it up. This was the bean I had picked. So I'm obviously going to have to rotate my ruler, right? Because I'm first going to measure it the hot dog way. And I kind of have to peer a little close because the ruler's really small at this point, but that's okay. I'm trying to line up the 0 at the end from one end to the other. And, oops, don't do that. And once you think you have the ruler lined up pretty good, oh, that was a little high. As you can see, you might need to manipulate it a little bit. Then you can go back into the present mode. And from here, you can look. So I actually ended up having my bean at the 0. So I went from 0, and if I go all the way over to this end, it looks like it's like 3.4, but we're going to round to the nearest half. So I'm going to say 3.5. So my hot dog length of my bean is going to be 3.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go down to my data table. And for my hot dog length, I'm going to put in 3.5. The next thing we're going to do is we need to get the radius, or half of the short side, half of the hamburger side, same bean. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to rotate it. Again, you use the blue circle to rotate. So I'm going to rotate it this way. And I'm going to bring it over my bean. Now, if you don't get on the 0, I'll show you a different way you can measure this. Okay. Let's say you don't get to the 0 exactly. You can see this is my bean right here. I'm doing the hot dog way, and it looks like my ruler's at like 1.8 to 3.2. So that bean on my ruler measures 1.8 to 3.2. So I can just pull up a calculator, right? If you don't know this, your Google is an automatic calculator if you type in the bar. At least mine at home is. Oh, here we go. Yep, right here where it says calculator, 1.4. So my total distance across hot dog style is 1.4. However, I need half of that. So if I take 1.4, right, here's my calculator results, and I divide that by 2, I get 0.7. So when I go into my data table right here, I'm going to type in 0.7. Let me get rid of that red highlighting so you can see it. And that's half of the hamburger. Last but not least, to do volume here, you would take volume equals the hot dog length, which is 3.5, times pi, which is 3.14, times the radius squared. So the radius squared is same thing as saying the radius multiplied by the radius. And in this point, our radius is 0.7, and we need to multiply that again because we're squaring it, 0.7. And when you take your calculator and do this calculation, right? 3.5, hold on, let's go over here. Clear it. Clear, clear, clear. If you do 3.5 times 3.14, which is pi, times our radius squared. Squared means you need to do it twice. Our area, our volume comes out to be 5.3, and I'm going to round that 5.39. So here is how you get that volume for the pinto bean. And you're going to do that for 10 different beans. When it comes time to making the histogram, and you watch Ms. K's video on the histogram scientists, you'll want to make sure that just this volume number is the only thing in this volume column in order to copy it over into sheets. The other thing you need to do with this bean is you need to determine the approximate dark coloring percentage. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to get my ruler out of the way, and I'm going to look at my same bean. So here's the bean I measured right here. And if you take a look at it, like there's this dark coloring all over it, and I need to figure out what percent out of 100 is that dark coloring. The way I like to do this is I like to picture this bean like cut into 10 little slices, and I ask myself, how many slices would be filled up with a dark color and how many slices would be filled up with a light brown color? And looking at this, I would say probably about 20% of this bean is dark colored. Again, I'm just making an estimate using my eyeballs. I'm eyeballing it, which is not the most scientific thing, but for the purposes of what we're doing here, it's fine. So I would go back to my bean specimen, and down here I would just write 20 because I said it was about 20% dark coloring. You don't need to put the percent sign there because you need just the numbers in the data table in order to make your histograms properly. I hope that this was a help in helping you figure out how to measure beans and figure out color percentages if you were not here when we did it in class. And scientists, I will see you later. Bye.